The coffee mug flew through the air in slow motion. Chidinma watched in horror as it sailed toward Mr. Oladele's face, the man who owned the entire company and controlled everyone's jobs in their department. The hot brown liquid splashed across his expensive white shirt and designer tie, and coffee grounds stuck to his shocked face. For 3 long seconds, nobody in the office moved. Nobody breathed. Then Mr. Oladele's eyes turned dark with anger, and Chidinma knew her life was about to change forever. But let me tell you how we got here. 6 months earlier, Chidinma was the laziest cleaner in all of Zenith Tower, the tallest office building in Lagos. Every morning, when the alarm clocks rang and the sun painted the sky orange and pink, other cleaners were already mopping the floors and wiping desks. But not Chidinma. She would arrive 2 hours late, yawning and dragging her cleaning cart behind her like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Chidinma was 23 years old and lived with her grandmother, Mama Ngozi, in a small apartment in Suralere. Her grandmother was kind and patient, always making excuses for her granddaughter's bad behavior. On this particular morning, Chidinma woke up at 9 o'clock. The sun was already high and hot. "Chidinma, you are late again," called Mama Ngozi from the kitchen. The smell of fried plantains filled the house. "I'm coming, Grandma," Chidinma mumbled, rolling over in bed. "Your supervisor will be angry. You must hurry." "Let him be angry," Chidinma said, finally getting up. "What can he do to me?" This was how Chidinma always talked. She had no respect for anyone. Not for her grandmother, not for her supervisor, not for the other cleaners who worked hard every day. When Chidinma finally arrived at Zenith Tower at 10:30, the sun was blazing hot. The office building was already full of people rushing to meetings, typing on computers, and answering phone calls. The smell of fresh coffee and photocopy paper filled the air. Mr. Adeyemi, the cleaning supervisor, was waiting for her by the elevators. He was a short, round man with glasses that always slid down his sweaty nose. "Chidinma, this is the 5th time this week you are late," he said, pushing his glasses up. Chidinma sucked her teeth loudly. "So, I'm here now, aren't I? You will clean the entire 3rd floor today. The conference rooms are very dirty after yesterday's meetings." "That's too much work," Chidinma complained. "Why don't you ask someone else?" "Because it's your job." Mr. Adeyemi was getting frustrated. "Whatever," Chidinma said, walking away slowly toward the elevator. The other cleaners, Utond and Bukola, watched this exchange and shook their heads. They had been working since 6 in the morning. "That girl has no respect," whispered Utond, a hardworking woman with 3 children. "One day she will learn," Bukola replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. Chidinma spent the next hour pretending to clean. She would wipe a desk, then sit down. Empty a trash can, then check her phone. When office workers asked her to clean up spills, she would sigh loudly and roll her eyes before slowly getting her mop. "Excuse me, young lady," said an elderly secretary named Mrs. Funk. "You missed some crumbs under this desk. Clean it yourself if it bothers you so much," Chidinma snapped. Mrs. Funk's mouth fell open in shock. In their culture, young people never spoke to elders this way. It was the ultimate disrespect. "You are a very rude girl," Mrs. Funk said quietly, then walked away shaking her head. This kind of thing happened every single day. Chidinma disrespected everyone. When the accountant, Mr. Bello, asked her to clean up some spilled coffee, she said, "Do I look like your slave?" When the HR manager, Mrs. Zainab, complained about the dirty bathroom on her floor, Chidinma said, "Maybe you should clean it yourself if you're so bothered." People started to avoid her. They would whisper when she walked by. Some felt sorry for Mama Ngozi, who was known throughout Suralere as a sweet and respectful woman. How could she have such a terrible granddaughter? But Chidinma didn't care. She thought everyone else was stupid for working so hard. She thought respect was for weak people. One afternoon, about 3 months into her job, something happened that should have been a warning. Chidinma was sitting in the break room eating chin-chin when she should have been walking. A tall woman in a beautiful blue dress walked up to her. This was Mrs. Kihind, the most respected manager in the entire building. Mrs. Kihind had helped almost everyone at Zenith Tower at some point. She gave people advice when they needed it. She settled arguments between departments. She mentored young workers. "Good afternoon, my daughter," Mrs. Kihind said kindly. "I have been watching you. You are young and strong, but you waste your energy on laziness and disrespect." "I didn't ask for your advice," Chidinma said, not even looking up. The break room went quiet. People stopped microwaving their lunch and getting coffee to watch. You could have heard a pin drop. Mrs. Kihind's face remained calm, but her eyes showed deep sadness. "My child, there is an old saying. The lizard that jumps from the high Iroko tree to the ground says he will praise himself if no one else does. But what the lizard doesn't know is that the ground is hard, and pride comes before a great fall." "I don't care about your old sayings," Chidinma said rudely. "They mean nothing." Mrs. Kihind looked at her for a long moment. "You will remember this conversation one day. When you do, come and find me." Then she walked away, and the break room slowly returned to normal. But people looked at Chidinma differently now. She had crossed a line. She had disrespected Mrs. Kihind, and everyone knew that was a terrible mistake. That evening, Mama Ngozi tried to talk to her granddaughter. "Chidinma, people are telling me you were rude to Mrs. Kihind today. People should mind their own business." "My child, why are you like this? Your mother, my daughter, was never this way. She was kind and hardworking before she passed." At the mention of her mother, Chidinma's face twitched, but she said nothing. "You cannot continue this way," Mama Ngozi continued, her voice breaking. "Disrespect is like a seed. You plant it everywhere you go, and one day you will have to harvest what you have grown." But Chidinma just went to her room and closed the door. The weeks passed, and Chidinma got worse, not better. She started coming even later to work. She started talking back even more rudely. She even began stealing small things from the office workers, thinking no one noticed. A few pens here, some sticky notes there, a cold bottle of Coke from someone's desk when no one was looking. But people noticed. They always notice. They just said nothing, because they knew something that Chidinma didn't know. They knew that life has a way of teaching hard lessons to those who refuse to learn easy ones. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Friday morning, and Zenith Tower was preparing for a special visit. Mr. Oladele, the most powerful man in all of Lagos business, was coming to inspect the building. Mr. Oladele owned not just Zenith Tower, but 20 other office buildings across Nigeria. He decided who got promoted and who didn't. He decided which companies got office space and which ones didn't. When Mr. Oladele visited, everyone cleaned everything twice. They wore their best clothes. They practiced their professional greetings. Everyone except Chidinma. "Chidinma, Mr. Oladele is coming today," Mr. Adeyemi told her that morning. "You must be on your absolute best behavior. Clean everything perfectly. Be respectful. This is very important." "I'll do what I always do," Chidinma said with a shrug. "Please, I'm begging you," Mr. Adeyemi said, and for the first time, Chidinma saw real fear in his eyes. "If you embarrass us in front of Mr. Oladele, we could all lose our jobs." But Chidinma didn't care about Mr. Adeyemi's fear. She didn't care about anyone's problems but her own. At 11 o'clock, Mr. Oladele's black Range Rover pulled up to Zenith Tower. He stepped out wearing a brilliant white shirt and a navy blue suit that must have cost more money than Chidinma made in a year. He had a gold watch and 3 assistants. Everyone stood up straight as he walked through the lobby and into the elevator. The building manager rode up with him, showing him each floor. Chidinma was supposed to be cleaning the executive floor where Mr. Oladele would work. Instead, she was sitting in the supply closet, scrolling through her phone, her cleaning cart beside her. Chidinma, get out here. Now. Mr. Adeyemi hissed at her. She slowly stood up, annoyed at being disturbed. Mr. Oladele was walking toward their section with the building manager and several important people. Mr. Adeyemi was sweating nervously, trying to make everything look perfect. "And this is our cleaning staff section," the building manager was saying to Mr. Oladele. "We keep the offices very tidy." Just then, Mr. Oladele's expensive leather shoe stepped on a wet spot that Chidinma had been too lazy to put a warning sign on after mopping. His foot slid forward, and he almost fell. His assistants caught him just in time. Everyone gasped. Mr. Oladele looked down at the wet floor, then looked around for the cleaner responsible. His eyes landed on Chidinma, who was standing there with her arms crossed, looking bored. "You there," Mr. Oladele said, his voice deep and commanding. "Come here." Chidinma walked over slowly, like she had all the time in the world. "Are you the cleaner for this floor?" "Yes," Chidinma said. She didn't say sir or show any respect. The crowd around them grew larger. Office workers peeked out of their cubicles. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Why is this floor wet with no warning sign?" "I almost fell." "I just mopped it," Chidinma said with a shrug. "It's 11 o'clock. What have you been doing all morning?" "Taking breaks." "Cleaning is hard work." You could hear people gasp. Mr. Adeyemi looked like he might faint. The building manager's face turned red. Mr. Oladele stared at Chidinma. No one had ever spoken to him this way. "Young woman, do you know who I am?" "Some building owner or something," Chidinma said, examining her fingernails. That was the moment. That was the second when everything fell apart. Mr. Oladele's face changed. The kindness left his eyes. "Get your mop," he said quietly. "And put up warning signs right now. While I watch." "I'll do it when I'm ready," Chidinma said. The words hung in the air like thunder before lightning strikes. What happened next happened fast. Mr. Oladele stepped closer to Chidinma. "I have been patient. But you are the rudest, most disrespectful person I have ever met. Your supervisor should fire you right now." "Fire me?" Chidinma laughed. "For what?" "For telling the truth. You have no respect for anyone. Not for your elders, not for your job, not for yourself." Something in Chidinma snapped. Maybe it was fear that finally caught up with her. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was just pure foolishness. But instead of apologizing, instead of being quiet, Chidinma did the unthinkable. There was a coffee mug on the nearby desk, still half full of hot coffee from someone's morning break. The coffee had been sitting there getting cold, and Chidinma had been supposed to clean it up an hour ago. She picked up the mug, and without thinking, without stopping herself, she threw it. She meant to throw it on the floor near Mr. Oladele's feet to scare him. But her aim was off. The entire mug of coffee flew through the air and splashed directly onto Mr. Oladele's face and his expensive white shirt. The office went completely silent. Coffee dripped from Mr. Oladele's face onto his ruined shirt. Brown stains spread across the white fabric like ugly flowers blooming. Coffee grounds stuck to his cheek. His gold watch was splattered. His navy blue suit jacket had dark wet spots all over it. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The entire floor was frozen in shock. Chidinma's hand was still in the air from throwing the mug. Her mouth opened slightly as she realized what she had just done. The empty coffee mug had fallen to the floor and shattered into pieces. Mr. Oladele slowly wiped his face with his hand. His eyes were closed. He was breathing heavily, trying to control his anger. When he finally opened his eyes and looked at Chidinma, she felt her stomach drop to her feet. "Security," Mr. Oladele said quietly. His voice was so calm it was terrifying. "Get her out of this building. Now." 2 security guards appeared immediately. They had been watching everything from down the hall. "Wait," Chidinma said, her voice suddenly small. "I didn't mean to, it was an accident." "An accident?" Mr. Oladele's voice rose. "You picked up that mug and you threw it at me. Everyone here saw you." The security guards grabbed Chidinma's arms. She tried to pull away. "Please, sir, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking." "You're right. You weren't thinking. You haven't been thinking for months." Mr. Oladele turned to Mr. Adeyemi. "This girl is fired. Immediately. I want her personal information. I'm going to make sure she never works in any office building in Lagos again." "No. Please." Chidinma was crying now. "I need this job. My grandmother, we need the money." "You should have thought about that before," Mr. Oladele said coldly. He turned to the building manager. "I want her banned from every property I own. All 20 buildings. If I hear she's working in any of them, the person who hired her will be fired too." The security guards dragged Chidinma toward the elevator. She was sobbing, trying to break free, but they held her firmly. "My things. My bag is in the supply closet." "Someone will bring it down," one guard said. As the elevator doors closed, Chidinma saw all the office workers staring at her. Some looked shocked. Some looked satisfied, like they had been waiting for this to happen. Mrs. Kihind was there too, watching with sad eyes, and Chidinma remembered her warning about pride and falling. The security guards took her down to the lobby and practically pushed her out the front door. 5 minutes later, someone threw her bag out after her. It landed on the sidewalk, and some of her things spilled out. Chidinma sat on the hot concrete, crying, while people walked past her going into the building for their jobs. Her job. The job she had just lost. After an hour of crying, Chidinma finally stood up, picked up her bag, and started the long walk home. She didn't have money for a bus. She had spent her last money on airtime for her phone that morning. The walk took 2 hours. The sun was burning hot. Her feet hurt. Her head hurt. But nothing hurt as much as knowing she had to tell Mom Ngozi what happened. When she finally reached the apartment, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Mom Ngozi was sitting in the living room, sewing buttons on a shirt. She did sewing work for neighbors to make extra money. "Chidinma, why are you home so early?" Mom Ngozi looked up with worry. Chidinma dropped her bag and burst into tears again. "What happened? Tell me." Mom Ngozi stood up quickly. Between sobs, Chidinma told her everything. About being late, about Mr. Oladele almost sleeping, about their argument, and finally about throwing the coffee. Mom Ngozi sat down heavily, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her face looked 10 years older suddenly. "You threw coffee at Mr. Oladele. The Mr. Oladele who owns half of Lagos. I didn't mean to hit him. I was angry." "Oh, Chidinma." Mom Ngozi put her face in her hands. "Oh, my child. What have you done?" "I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't pay rent. Sorry doesn't buy food." Mom Ngozi's voice was shaking. "Do you know how hard I worked to get you that job?" Mrs. Adebayo from church spoke to her son who spoke to Mr. Adeyemi. "It took me 3 months of asking and begging." "I know, Grandma. And now you've thrown it away. Not just the job. Your reputation. Your future." Mom Ngozi stood up and walked to the window. "Mr. Oladele is a powerful man. If he says you won't work in Lagos, you won't work in Lagos." The weight of what she had done finally hit Chidinma fully. It wasn't just about losing one job. It was about losing all jobs. Mr. Oladele knew everyone. He had connections everywhere. That evening, Chidinma's phone started ringing. It was your turn, her former coworker. Chidinma, what were you thinking? I don't know. I lost control. Girl, it's all over social media. Someone recorded it on their phone. The video is everywhere. Chidinma's heart stopped. What? Check Instagram. Check Twitter. Everyone is posting it. They are calling you the disrespectful cleaner. Some people are even making memes. After Yeton hung up, Chidinma checked her phone with shaking hands. Yeton was right. The video was everywhere. She watched herself throw the coffee at Mr. Oladele again and again. The comments were terrible. She deserves to be fired. So disrespectful. This generation has no manners. Mr. Oladele should sue her. I would never hire this girl. Chidinma threw her phone across the room and cried into her pillow. The next morning, Saturday, Chidinma woke up hoping it had all been a bad dream. But it wasn't. Her phone had 157 missed calls. Her social media was full of messages from people she didn't even know, calling her names and telling her she was a disgrace. Mom Ngozi was quiet at breakfast. She made akara and pap, but neither of them could eat much. I'm going to church tomorrow to pray, Mom Ngozi finally said. You should come with me. What's the point? God is probably angry at me too. God is never too angry to help those who truly repent. Mom Ngozi reached across the table and held Chidinma's hand. But repenting means more than saying sorry. It means changing. On Monday morning, Chidinma woke up early and started looking for a new job. She went to 5 different office buildings. But each time she gave her name, people's faces changed. Oh, you're the girl from the video. We don't have any positions available. Please leave. At the 6th building, a security guard recognized her immediately. You need to go. The manager said if you showed up, we should call the police. Chidinma couldn't believe it. She hadn't committed a crime. She had just thrown coffee at someone. But apparently, that was enough to make her untouchable in Lagos. For 2 weeks, she tried everywhere. Cleaning jobs, restaurant jobs, shop assistant jobs. Nobody would hire her. The video had made her famous for all the wrong reasons. Mom Ngozi's sewing money was barely enough to feed them. Their rent was due in 2 weeks, and they didn't have it. The landlord, Mr. Ibrahim, was not a patient man. One evening, Chidinma was sitting outside the apartment when she saw Mrs. Kihind walking down the street. The older woman was carrying groceries. Chidinma wanted to hide, but Mrs. Kihind had already seen her. Good evening, Chidinma. Good evening, Ma. Chidinma couldn't look her in the eye. Mrs. Kihind set down her bags and sat next to Chidinma on the step. I saw what happened. Everyone did, Chidinma said bitterly. I told you pride comes before a fall. Do you remember? Yes, Ma. You were right. I should have listened. So what are you going to do now? I don't know. Nobody will hire me. We can't pay rent. I've ruined everything. Mrs. Kihind was quiet for a moment. There is one person who might help you. Who would help me after what I did? Mr. Oladele. Chidinma laughed, but it sounded like crying. The man whose shirt I ruined. The man who banned me from 20 buildings. That's Mr. Oladele. Yes. That one. You're joking. I'm not. Mrs. Kihind looked at her seriously. Mr. Oladele is a hard man, but he's also a fair man. If you go to him with true humility and genuine change in your heart, he might listen. He'll just have me arrested. Maybe. Or maybe he'll see that you've learned your lesson. Mrs. Kehan stood up and picked up her bags. But you can't go to him the way you are now. You're still full of pride. You're just sorry you got caught, not sorry for who you've been. Those words hit Chidinma like a slap. Because they were true. After Mrs. Kehan left, Chidinma sat outside for hours, thinking. She thought about her mother, who had died when Chidinma was 12. Her mother had been kind and hardworking. She had clean offices too, but she did it with dignity. She never complained. She never disrespected anyone. When had Chidinma become so different from her mother? When had she decided that being rude made her strong? That night, Chidinma couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about everything. About all the people she had disrespected. About Mama Ngozi's tired face. About their empty cupboards. About the rent they couldn't pay. At 3 in the morning, she got out of bed and went to the living room. She found an old photo album. In it were pictures of her mother at her cleaning job, smiling, posing with her coworkers. They all looked happy. Chidinma cried as she looked at the photos. "I'm sorry, Mama," she whispered to the picture. "I became someone you would be ashamed of." The next day was Sunday. Chidinma went to church with Mama Ngozi. She hadn't been to church in months. When the pastor talked about humility and repentance, Chidinma felt like he was speaking directly to her. After church, she made a decision. "Grandma, I need to go see Mr. Oladele." Mama Ngozi looked shocked. "Are you sure?" "No. But I have to try. I have to apologize properly. I have to face what I did. He might not see you. I know. But I have to try." On Monday morning, Chidinma did something she hadn't done in months. She woke up early. She took a bath. She wore her best clothes, a simple dress her mother had given her years ago. She combed her hair neatly. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the girl staring back. She looked humble. She looked scared. She looked ready to face the truth. She took 2 buses to get to the tallest building in Victoria Island, where Mr. Oladele's main office was located. Her hands were shaking as she walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was huge and beautiful, with marble floors and tall windows. There was a reception desk with a young woman in a perfect suit. "Good morning. I need to see Mr. Oladele." The receptionist looked at her computer. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but Mr. Oladele doesn't see anyone without an appointment. Please. It's very important. I need to apologize to him." The receptionist's eyes narrowed. "Apologize for what?" "For throwing coffee at him." The receptionist's mouth fell open. She picked up her phone immediately. "Security, we have a situation in the lobby." "No, wait. Please," Chidinma said desperately. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to say I'm sorry." 2 security guards appeared quickly. They recognized Chidinma from the video that had spread everywhere. "You need to leave right now," one guard said firmly. "Please, just 5 minutes with Mr. Oladele. That's all I need. He doesn't want to see you. Leave, or we'll remove you." Chidinma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't move. "I won't leave until he hears my apology. I'll wait here all day if I have to." The security guards looked at each other, unsure of what to do. They couldn't drag a crying girl out of the lobby with other people watching. It would look bad. The receptionist was still on the phone, talking to someone upstairs. "Just give me 5 minutes," Chidinma said louder, her voice echoing in the big lobby. Other people were starting to stare. "I know what I did was wrong. I know I was disrespectful. I just want to apologize face to face." "Your cousin has seen," the guard said. "Good. Maybe then he'll come down here." The receptionist suddenly said, "Wait. She was listening to someone on the phone. Her face looked surprised. She hung up and looked at Chidinma. Mr. Oladele says to send you up. Chidinma couldn't believe it. Really? Top floor. Take the elevator on the right. Someone will meet you there. As Chidinma rode the elevator up, her heart was beating so fast she thought it might jump out of her chest. The elevator seemed to take forever. When the doors finally opened, a stern-looking woman in glasses was waiting. Follow me. You have 5 minutes. They walked down a hallway with expensive artwork on the walls. At the end was a large wooden door. The woman knocked twice and opened it. Mr. Oladele was sitting behind a massive desk. He was wearing a grey suit today, and his face was unreadable. The woman gestured for Chidinma to enter, then closed the door behind her, leaving them alone. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mr. Oladele said, "You have 5 minutes. Start talking." Chidinma took a deep breath. Her whole future depended on what she said next. "Sir, I came to apologize," Chidinma said, her voice shaking. "What I did was terrible. I was disrespectful, lazy, and rude to everyone. Not just to you, but to my supervisor, my coworkers, the office workers, and even my own grandmother." Mr. Oladele said nothing. He just watched her with those sharp eyes. "I have no excuse. I thought I was better than everyone else. I thought respect was for weak people. I was wrong." Tears started rolling down Chidinma's cheeks. "My mother died when I was 12. She was a cleaner too, but she was hardworking and kind. She would be so ashamed of who I became. Why should I believe you've changed?" Mr. Oladele asked coldly. "You're only sorry because you lost your job and nobody will hire you." "You're right," Chidinma admitted. "At first, I was just sorry I got caught. But these past weeks, I've had time to think. I've seen how much I hurt my grandmother. How I wasted the opportunity she worked so hard to get me. How I disrespected everyone who tried to help me. I was a terrible person, sir. And I want to change. I need to change." Mr. Oladele leaned back in his chair. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing, sir. I just wanted to apologize to your face. You deserve that much. I don't expect you to forgive me or give me a job. I just wanted you to know that I'm truly sorry." Mr. Oladele studied her for a long time. Then he picked up his phone and made a call. "Send Mrs. Kihind up to my office." Chidinma's eyes widened in surprise. Mrs. Kihind. 5 minutes later, Mrs. Kihind walked into the office. She smiled slightly when she saw Chidinma. "Mrs. Kihind works for my company as a senior consultant," Mr. Oladele explained. "She told me you might come. She also told me about your mother. Your mother, Adiz, used to clean my first office building 15 years ago. She was one of the best workers I ever had. Always on time, always respectful, always thorough." Chidinma's mouth fell open. "You knew my mother?" "Yes. When she died, I wanted to help you and your grandmother, but you were too young to work then. When Mrs. Kihind told me Ngozi's granddaughter was working at Zenith Tower, I didn't make the connection. Different last names." He paused. "Your mother would indeed be ashamed of how you behaved." Those words hurt more than anything else, but Chidinma knew they were true. "However," Mr. Oladele continued, "your mother would also be proud that you came here today." That took courage. "Does this mean," Chidinma started, hope rising in her chest. "No," Mr. Oladele cut her off firmly. "I'm not giving you your job back. You're not ready for that. But Mrs. Kihind has agreed to take you on as her personal assistant for 3 months. You'll work directly under her. She'll teach you about respect, hard work, and humility. If, after 3 months, she says you've truly changed, then we'll discuss a permanent position." Chidinma couldn't believe what she was hearing. Really? You're giving me another chance? I'm giving you a chance to prove you can change. But understand this, one mistake, one moment of disrespect, one time you're late without a good reason, and you're done. Not just with my company, but I'll make sure you never walk in Lagos again. Am I clear? Yes, sir. Crystal clear. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Thank Mrs. Kehind. She's the one who convinced me you deserve a second chance. And thank your mother's memory. This is for her, not for you. Mrs. Kehind smiled at Chidinma. You start tomorrow morning. 6 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. I won't be. I promise. As Chidinma left the office, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. In the elevator going down, she started crying again, but this time they were tears of relief and gratitude. She ran all the way to the bus stop, then rode the bus home as fast as she could. When she burst through the apartment door, Mama Ngozi looked up in alarm. Chidinma. What happened? Grandma. I got a second chance. Mr. Oladele is letting me work for Mrs. Kehind. Mama Ngozi's hands flew to her mouth. Truly? Yes. I start tomorrow. Chidinma hugged her grandmother tightly. I'm going to be different, Grandma. I promise. I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to make Mama proud. Mama Ngozi held her granddaughter and cried. Thank God. Thank God. That night, Chidinma set 3 alarms for 4:30 in the morning. She laid out her clothes. She cleaned her shoes until they shined. She was not going to mess up this second chance. The next morning, when her alarms went off, Chidinma jumped out of bed immediately. She was dressed and ready by 5 o'clock. She arrived at Mrs. Kehind's office at 5:45, 15 minutes early. Mrs. Kehind smiled when she saw her. Good. You're early. That's a good start. I'll always be early from now on, Mo. We'll see, Mrs. Kehind said. Now, let's begin. We have a lot of work to do, and I'm not just talking about office work. I'm talking about rebuilding who you are as a person. And so Chidinma's real journey began. The first week was hard. Mrs. Kehind gave her tasks that seemed impossible. She had to organize 15 years of files. She had to call clients and apologize for scheduling conflicts. She had to serve tea to the same office workers who had seen her throw coffee at Mr. Oladele. Some people were kind. Others whispered and laughed. But Chidinma kept her head down and worked hard. Every time she felt angry or wanted to snap back, she thought about her mother. She thought about Mama Ngozi. She thought about how lucky she was to have this second chance. By the end of the first month, Mrs. Kehind started trusting her with more important tasks. By the end of the second month, some of the office workers started greeting her warmly. By the end of the third month, Chidinma had completely transformed. She woke up early every day. She was polite to everyone. She worked harder than anyone else. She volunteered to help others. She apologized to everyone she had disrespected, including Mr. Adeyemi, Yetond, and Bukola. On the last day of her 3-month trial, Mrs. Kehind called her into her office. Chidinma, I've been watching you carefully. Mr. Oladele asked me to give him an honest assessment of whether you've changed. Chidinma held her breath. I'm happy to tell him that you have. You're not the same girl who threw that coffee. You've become someone your mother would be proud of. Tears filled Chidinma's eyes. Thank you, Mrs. Kehind. Thank you for believing in me when nobody else would. Don't thank me yet. Mr. Oladele wants to see you in his office. Right now. Chidinma's heart started racing again. She took the elevator up to the top floor, but this time she wasn't scared. She had worked hard. She had changed. Whatever Mr. Oladele decided, she could face it. When she entered his office, Mr. Oladele was standing by the window, looking out at Lagos. Chidinma. Mrs. Kihine gave me her report. She says you've changed completely. I have, sir. I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. Mr. Oladele turned around. For the first time since she met him, he was smiling. I believe you. Therefore, I'm offering you a permanent position as a junior office assistant. It's not a cleaning job. It's a real office job with better pay. But you'll still have to work hard. I will, sir. I promise I will. Good. Because I have big plans for you. Your mother was special, and I see that same potential in you now that you've learned humility and respect. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll be sitting in an office like this. Chidinma left Mr. Oladele's office walking on air. She called Mama Ngozi immediately. Grandma, I got a permanent job. And it's not cleaning, it's a real office position. Mama Ngozi's joy could be heard through the phone. When Chidinma got home that evening, Mama Ngozi had cooked a special meal to celebrate. As they ate together, Chidinma looked at her grandmother and said, "Grandma, I'm sorry for everything I put you through. I was selfish and disrespectful. But I promise, from now on, I'll make you proud every single day." Mama Ngozi reached across the table and held her granddaughter's hand. "You already have, my child. You already have." That night, as Chidinma lay in bed, she thought about everything that had happened. She had learned the hardest way possible that disrespect and laziness only lead to destruction. But she had also learned that it's never too late to change, to apologize, and to become the person you were meant to be. She looked at the photo of her mother on her nightstand. "I did it, Mama," she whispered. "I finally became someone you can be proud of." And somewhere, she believed, her mother was smiling.